Howdy.
How you doing, Coach?
Good, thanks.
So, everybody good? So, yeah, Coach. I know the NCAA today made the vote to move or delay the decision on the championship. What does that mean for y'all? How weird is it to be beginning a practice for a season that you don't exactly know what the end looks like?
Well, I'll give you the G-rated version of what I think. It's disappointing that the NCAA isn't showing more leadership for these kids. I mean, it's hard. It's hard on these young student athletes to be able to, they're all goal oriented and they're motivated to succeed at the highest levels. And they keep the goalposts sometimes they're moving, sometimes they're not even there. And just to allow these people to understand what we're going for and how things are going to be. I know it's been frustrating for our student athletes. It's been frustrating for me too.
Mm-hmm. So how do you as a coach try to set a common goal to kind of keep them focused when there is so much uncertainty? I mean, that's been the conversation for months now too, with all the different moving goalposts.
Well, the good news is we're training. Today we were on the field. Yesterday was our first day, and we were able to, get out. So I mean, if we didn't have the masks on, you'd see that we all had smiles on our faces. With the masks on, we're just huffing and puffing for air to try to stay alive. But with everything that's going on, at least we got a start. And so for us, we carry on that. Our first game is still going to be on the 4th of September at Oklahoma State. That our first SEC game is going to be on the 18th against Tennessee. And until somebody tells us that it's going to be different than that, then that's where our focus is. So, we have, I think Jimena said it earlier to y'all, we have 1 month to prepare. That's 14 days longer than we usually get to prepare. So for a control freak like myself, it's a chance for us to not only get ourselves into a good training rhythm, but also to take care of a lot of fine tuning and everything else. Today was the first day on the field. So it was, this was our baseline today and yesterday.
Coach, what's the trade-off of those extra 2 weeks of practice versus having some non-conference games? Would you prefer one way or the other, or do you think with everyone in kind of the same situation, it won't matter in the long run?
Well, I'd like to have my cake and eat it too. I'd like to have, our 20 games back instead of now I'm down to 14 games. I'm hoping that we don't go less than that, because I want this to be a meaningful season for our seniors, especially. I don't want all of a sudden that just some bureaucrats have said that our season can only be half as long as it usually is because of things that are not for sure, but it looks good. So we're going to do everything we can to keep our kids safe, and we're going to do everything we can to put this team into a championship mode. But we need to, we just need to concentrate on what we're doing today and hope that the people that are representing us are doing the right things. I know that Ross Bjork is doing everything he can to represent Texas A&M and represent our student athletes and our university in the best method possible, which means that we're going to put Texas A&M first in our thoughts. So, it's just a matter of, I wish the NCAA would just make up their mind and would be bold and to say that we're going to do X, Y, or Z, so that we can then focus on what exactly that is. Right now, it's just a matter of trying to be the best we can every single day. But that's kind of a common thing anyway with the players that come to this program.
Other than the masks, like you and Jimena mentioned, is practice planning, is the way that you run practice any different with COVID precautions at all?
Well, COVID precautions, yeah, it's crazy. There's so we don't get to use the locker room. The girls don't get to hang out at all. So a lot of things that we would be doing to build teams, all the protocols are for not building teams. They're for building individuals and spaces, which is completely understandable. But we're a team sport, and so we're looking that when we're in training, when we cross the line and step on the field, what can we do that's safe but still is fostering an educational environment, one that the girls can learn from each other and can learn how to be a better team. So all of those are different. Obviously, we all did testing again this morning. That's something that Texas A&M is doing a great job of, and the issues of what we can do and what we can't do when we're on the field around the players is a little bit different. So, and the other thing, that the benefit, of course, is that we only have to train once a day. Typically, we would be training twice one day, and then once the next, and then twice, and then once, and then twice, and then once, and kind of rotating through there. And that can be a real grind on the players. So the fact that this thing has been stretched out, I see as a real benefit, because the players get a full 21 hours to recover from a hard training session today.
G,
Can you talk about the returning team that you have and the new guys that you have coming in?
Well, there's a lot of new players, which is exciting. A couple players that I'm sure that you guys will see and hear a lot about. Barb Oliveri is a really, really special player. She's an attacking player. She was a high school All-American, was this Texas State High School the Gatorade Player of the Year, and is someone who's played in international competitions for Venezuela. She's from Katy, Texas, but her parents come from Venezuela. Kate Colvin, who's played with the Dash in Houston, and is trained with a professional group down there in the past, is a super player and a really good teammate on how she plays. Lainey Carroll comes out of Southern California, is a terrific attacking player. She's scored some speed marks that really have pleasantly surprised us, that she's really fast. And and then of course you've got a lot of our key players coming back. You got Addie McCain coming back. You got Jimena Lopez coming back. You got Macy Cole coming back. So we'll be we'll have probably a different shape to the way we play, because we'll adjust it to these new players and to the strength that we have returning. But it'll still be a Texas A&M team that hopefully strikes fear in our opponents.
G, I asked Jordan about it. Do you have any trepidation about your athletes going back to class with athletes that are not in your program and being watched closely by the athletic department?
Sure. Again, the control freak in me, which is a very strong impulse that I have, and I think most coaches do. We worry about what is happening with the players when they're not in our bubble. We know that there's been no positive tests coming from our facilities, whether it's our weight training facilities, our dining facilities, our practice facilities, game facilities. It's the wild cards. It's those people that can come in contact with our players that's the only concern. But we've talked to our players. Again, we've got some really intelligent young women on this team, and we've talked about being intentional and being more conscious of the people around you than ever before. And it's been well versed into them to that if they have an opportunity to take an online class, take an online class. If they go into face-to-face classes with professors and with other students, to be smart about how they enter the class, where they are, and to keep their mask on.
Coach,
I never planned to or never be a soccer expert, so just talk to us a little bit, please, about the offense. And when you have a player like Ali Watt who moves on and has scored so many goals in your history, and you lean on her to lead your offense, how do you go about attacking a defense when you don't have one so-called star player like that? I know, and I'm not saying your other players aren't stars, but how do you go about readjusting your offense?
Well, I think one of the things that I love about college sports and what I love about being a college coach is the fact that every year is different. Every year we graduate players. So graduating a player is never a surprise to us. It's actually the goal that we brought them to Texas A&M to get their degree. Allie got her degree and was an outstanding representative of the school, but it just means that we go on. So we we just turn the page, and a lot of the characters are the same on the next page as they were on the prior. It's just that, you know, we won't have someone in a number 1 jersey running past people at that pace that we've had in the past. So the other thing about it is that I look at it from a positive is we're going to play a little bit differently because of the tools that we have to use. And so it'll mean that people have got to defend us differently than they have in the past. They can't just lay back and try to protect that space in behind them that Allie was going to attack. You'll see a little bit like when we played against Texas in the NCAAs last year. We weren't going to get behind them. We didn't think that Allie was going to score in that particular game because they protected that space so much. So what did we do? We scored 4 goals in front of their defense. And all the players who scored those goals except for Grace Piper are all back. And so I come into the year very confident, and I'm obviously excited about what Allie's been able to do and thankful that she was here. But it's the same thing when we graduate any of the other 30 All-Americans that have come through this program. We just pick up and reload.
Building off that, Coach, this kind of 2-part question, but how exciting or how fun is it from your perspective to kind of mold a new team that may play a little different way? And then part 2 of that is we always talk to you and you talk about the championship expectations of this program. Do you think this particular group of girls has the chops to compete for championships in both the SEC and on the national level?
Well, yes, I think they do have the ability. This is going to be a different year than anything. Obviously, everything is different. The way you're having to prepare, the distancing, everything else that's gone into it. It's a tough world right now for a teenage student athlete, just because all the things that they've really been doing for their whole life have got to be tweaked just a little bit. But from a coach's standpoint, that's where we get to shine. That's where we get to be the problem solvers and to put those pieces of the puzzle into the right spots and to fit things in the way that are going to make Texas A&M the most competitive team that we can muster.
You've had some success. Obviously, you got Taylor Pounds coming in, Haley's sister, and then Kendall Bates. Is she going to be healthy? And then the Zemer. Talk about you recruiting sisters to come into the program.
Well, it's a nice thing when you have sisters that get along, because we all know stories of, you know, the sisters that don't get along. But these we're really blessed to have these girls. You know, the Zemer sisters are super. They bring a California flair and personalities to the team, and obviously love each other dearly. And that's obvious. The Bates sisters are the same way. When Emily was here, it's interesting to see the differences in people that were raised in the same home. You have that base of great character, but just different personality, slight tweaks here and there. Kendall Bates is as good a person, as good a human being as you'll ever be around, and we're lucky to have her in this program. And she's come back from 2 ACL surgeries and is really doing great. She's had a great recovery. All this time off to do stuff on her own, she's been doing things that no one else has been able to do while no one else is watching. So I'm really excited for her. And then the Pounds are another great family. Blake and his kids are all. It's funny how when you have good parents, and Blake and Dawn Pounds are really, really good people. It's just such a coincidence that great kids tend to come out of those environments, and that's what you have with Taylor Pounds coming in. She's a very different than Haley, but man, she's an awesome person. Yesterday in our fitness test, she absolutely blew it away, and that was a great thing to see for a freshman coming in and doing as well as she did. So it's neat that there's legacies and families that what you do is you come to Texas A&M and play with your sister, and I hope that we get to do that a lot in the future. I think we've had at least 8 pairs of sisters over the time that I've been here, and it's always neat. It's always a cool thing to be a part of.
That's awesome.
Coach, you talked about the more time giving and the people you return being able to kind of assess the talent you have and work from there. Do you see, with a little bit more time in practice, working through some different kinds of formation changes, or working through any kind of new philosophy as far as formation goes, or is it the same thing that y'all were looking at last year?
Well, I don't get that biblical, but know thyself is something I think is really important. That you've got to know, you have to know what you can do, and you have to know what you can't do. And so a big part of what our preparation, especially this first week or even this first 2 weeks, is going to be learning, our players learning what we do well and what we probably need to polish up, or what we need to avoid. So my coaches are exceptional at highlighting special powers that our players have, and Phil Stevenson, who's our associate head coach, is a master at identifying talent, but also developing talent within the program. And I think that you'll see that there will be people who pop up this year that you haven't seen. If you're a longtime Texas A&M soccer fan, there are people there you're going to go, oh wow, I didn't know she could do that. I didn't know that was one of the tools that she had in the shed. So that's the thing that we're working on right now, and we're not in a big hurry. So that's kind of the fun thing about it, is that we can go through our sessions without this ticking time bomb that a game is coming up in a week or 3 days. Initially, we were going to start on the 4th of August, and we were going to have a game on the 7th of August. So now that was going to be a fast motion. Well, we've completely altered away from that, and we're going into trying to be thorough, but keep it fun, because it's going to be 4 weeks of training. We don't want to burn anybody out.
Yeah, and then you mentioned with replacing Allie, do you have an idea of kind of who's going to slot into that number 9 slot, or is there a committee, or is that up for grabs as you work through the fall?
Well, it's competition every day. Every day, anyone has an opportunity to grab any position, and but through their performance. Today, for example, Reagan Smith was outstanding, and Reagan is a senior, and she's developed in her time here. So Reagan would be one of the first people that we would think would be one of those scary people to frighten our opponents, because she's strong and she's tenacious in the way she plays. Lainey Carroll's another kid who comes out of California, who also is a very, very talented player. I talked about Barbara is also a great player there. Jai Smith, who's a transfer from Seton Hall, is also someone who is, she's got a great change of pace and very tenacious and powerful on the ball. So whether we play, the thing about Texas A&M soccer is that we've never been a system program. We've never been a program that just plays in one thing and you just slip new pegs into those round holes. We basically look at who we have. We figure out what's the best way to get our best 11 players on the field, and how do we highlight that whenever we make substitutions within the game. And then that's how we formulate the way that we're going to play. It's not just, here's the playbook and this is what we're going to do. Because we think that you could waste talent that way, and you could miss out on really, really special players that should be on the field. You just have to find a way to make it fit for them.
Coach, I got one last question real quick. I know Ellis Field's one of the best home field advantages in the country. 12th man comes out, and you said many times that some of the opponents that come in there, it's the most fans I've ever seen at a soccer game. If you guys are at 50% capacity or less, how's that going to affect not only you guys, but just how does the fans affect the soccer game in general?
Well, if we're at 50% or less, it's still more people than other people play in front of. So it'll still be, the thing that I look at the 12th man about being is I think it's a way of life that you're going to step up for your mates and the people around you, and you're going to be a good citizen. Being a good citizen at Texas A&M, what that does is that gives our players bursts of adrenaline, and that adrenaline is what gives a lot of times gives our players those superhuman qualities to be able to beat people. That all comes from the home field advantage of what we do. There's some places, and there's a lot of athletes out there that get really intimidated by their own home field, and they struggle to play in front of their home crowd. And that's something that we talk about with our players all the time. That, hey, these people are here to help you, and they're going to boost you. They're going to give you extra energy, and so our players come into games kind of expecting that. So if we're not allowed to have anyone in the crowd, then I guess I'm going to have to really pump up my volume a little bit to get my pom poms out and cheer a little bit more for the team.